So for me, I lead the creation of the London Tech Fairs for the Microsoft DigiGirls Days. So we've had over 150 girls get hands-on with technologies that are developed by the Microsoft engineering teams that are in London. And we also introduce them to the kind of different roles that are in tech.
Young people around the world want to see change. Join your co-hosts, William, Anastasia, and George, as they speak to young leaders from around the world on their stories, their struggles, and most importantly, their incredible impact. In season 2 of this podcast, be ready to get inspired. This is where action begins, and this is the Young Changemakers podcast.
What's going on, you guys? It's your boy William from Guatemala. Thank you guys so much for joining us back again on the 6th episode of the 2nd season of the Young Changemakers podcast. I'm really excited to be back with you guys again on the 2nd episode where I'm a co-host. And just before jumping to the introduction and to the interview, I just wanted to say that I really hope that you have found some value and interesting topics on the episodes that have been released. Because that's what we're looking for, guys. That not only you find interesting conversation and a lot of value on the episodes, but also that you can find and relate to some experiences and, add more wisdom to your experience and add more ideas to what you're doing and all of that. Because that's what we're actually looking for. So I'm going to jump right to the introduction. Today I'm interviewing someone from Seattle, United States. Her name is Holly Boothroyd. She's 24 years old and is a software engineer who graduated in the UK. She's currently employed at Microsoft in London and is currently developing Cortana in Windows. Her career at Microsoft started when she applied for an internship to work on Paint 3D. A cool feature she worked on was the 3D printing done directly from the software. After her internship, she got another one in the Xbox team. She worked on integrating services that are now used by tens of millions of people. Back in 2018, she joined the Microsoft DigiGirls team. They give high school girls opportunities to learn about careers in tech. After Holly volunteered in the DigiGirls Day, she started organizing tech fairs that were hosted in the office where she works. They have impacted more than 150 plus girls by showing them how some technologies work. She's also involved in an external organization called the STEMets, which is a social enterprise that inspires young women into STEM. Basically, they empower women and help them realize their full potential. She has also been awarded with several recognitions. Her message is that women can strive in STEM. So I'm pretty sure we're going to have an interesting conversation with Holly, you guys. I really hope that you find the conversation very enriching and that you can find a lot of value in it. Let's go. Right, Holly, welcome to the YCM podcast. We're very happy to have you here today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm super excited to talk to you today.
Thank you. Okay, so I was going to ask you a quick question just before jumping to the interview. When was the last time you went out?
Ooh, I actually went out yesterday.
Oh, that was not long ago.
I take advantage of my one daily exercise that I'm allowed, and so I tend to make the most of enjoying my
All right, cool. So Saturdays is for exercise.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Okay, so now let's go to the first question. So let us know what benefits have you found in your life since actively volunteering. As our listeners heard back in the introductions, you're involved in many activities and organizations that do very nice stuff. So let us know what benefits have you found in your life.
Yeah, so for me, I always say seek communities outside your day job. And the reason is because the women's STEM community really kind of brings me a sense of fulfillment that I don't really get by just limiting myself just to my programming role. So I really love speaking to people and helping others and kind of working to forge a path for future female technologists, sort of just like how previous activists did for me. Um, so I'm kind of really thankful that these kind of my advocacy work, my passions, and my career in tech, because then it means that they can kind of continuously build on each other. And so I say this community is really valuable to me because it's connected me to a bunch of really incredible female leaders, and I've made a bunch of new friends in tech that kind of make this place feel like a home to me. So they teach me and we kind of build each other up. And because my journey started in a place where I didn't really share my interest in tech outside of like my family, I'm very grateful now to have this kind of strong sense of community with these like driven women and male allies who are really looking to make a difference. And so like one of the biggest things that I've kind of taken away is that like volunteering and getting involved really starts to kind of unlock a network that's kind of united by these shared interests. And they can really lead to some amazing collaborations and opportunities for your kind of career and altruistic goals.
Yeah. So you mentioned something really important, I think, that helps you feel like you're in home, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like most of the times people that are not living very close to their families, try to find like activities so that they can feel that sort of feeling, right? So that's really important. And also that you found an advocacy that's really close to has to do with your work, right? Like STEM and all of that.
Yeah, so it's super nice that it has this intersection because it means that then I can spend some of my time doing my work at work, and also because it ties and Microsoft is interested in this advocacy work, then I can also do some of my volunteering during my work hours. And it also means that the networks that I make are very shared between things, and the things that I can learn, I can directly apply in my advocacy. A nice tie there, and I really suggest other people when they're looking for advocacy work involved with, like try to find where intersections, because it starts making your time a lot more valuable.
Yeah, definitely. That's what we also try to find, right? Millennials, to make our time count, right? Like to take advantage of all the free time that we have. All right, so right. All right, so tell us. I know I already asked you that. Well, I already told you that your advocacy has to do with your job, right? But now we want to know, like, what are some main reasons you started advocating for women in STEM, and why would you encourage women out there to follow their dreams? Is there like a reason behind? This work that these people are doing, like to include women into STEM.
Yeah, so at least for on a personal level, I would say that I was really lucky to have a family who kind of encouraged my technical interest. But sort of as I mentioned before, like I was very aware that being a woman in technology, I'd face societal bias and discrimination, and not very many of my friends, especially my female friends, were also interested in these kind of technology passions. And so it wasn't until at university that I found my first female friends who loved technology just the same as I did. And we kind of started again forming this community through each other, and it was through them and my mentors and experience in the industry and kind of really fully realize the importance of connecting women in STEM and amplifying more diverse voices, and starting to combat the barriers that we have, so we can start to retain women in tech. So I really want to start building an industry where women feel like they can thrive and feel empowered by the work that they're doing. But if you look at it really at like a macro level as well, technology's impacts are felt across every single region, across every single industry, and with technical jobs that are increasing at twice the demand of non-technical jobs or non-digital jobs, and paying 36% more than the national average in the UK, then it starts making sense that these actions need to be taken to make sure that the entire population starts to have access to these kind of like fulfilling, well-paid jobs where decision makers in these key global industries. It's like as technology has more and more, the importance of creating technology with everyone in mind becomes just important. And so I'd say for people who are interested in these kinds of topics, I'd suggest reading Invisible Women and Moment of Lift for some kind of really great insights into how women have been taken into account and the lack of taking other people into account during things like urban planning and product development and like politics, things like this.
Yeah.
Some really interesting examples, and does start to show you that there's really vast improvements in these systems and costs if you start taking people into consideration. So that's really what the purpose of this and what inspired me is, because I could see the impacts are massive, and I had something that made it personal for me. I wanted to make sure that other people and other women had the same opportunities and communities and advice that made me successful. I think the responsibility of us all to kind of help uplift each other.
Wow, awesome. It's really cool that you have that vision, that you are like very sure about including women in this amazing and big industry, just impacting millions of people worldwide. So that's really cool. You mentioned something really interesting that I want to bring again into the conversation. You said that before you started uni, like all your female friends were not interested into STEM, but you were.
Yeah.
But I mean, that was not like an obstacle for you. You still went like after your goal. So maybe a lot of women feel like that, you know, okay, I like to code, I like technology, I like these things, but like my environment, my surroundings tell me that I should not follow this or make me feel like that. So why would you say it's a key, or what should you tell yourself in order to, okay, let's do this and let's not hear to that and all of that?
I think when you're thinking about the fact that there aren't maybe other women, or you don't have as many friends kind of like pushing for you and understanding what you're going through, I think for me, what it was the fact that I knew eventually I would meet these people. I knew I would eventually find my female friends that are in tech, but also I think there is a little bit of confidence that needs to be involved. Just to believe in yourself, that you can do it. And I think one of the biggest lessons that I've ended up learning that's helped me a lot through my career was the fact that even if I don't know something now, I have the ability to learn it. And so for all those people, especially women who tend to be perfectionists, and that kind of holds people back, it's like, you don't have to be perfect at this now. You don't have to have all the answers. It's okay as long as you're learning and going on the right path, then it's fine. And inevitably you're going to find this community. A lot has changed even from when I joined a couple of years ago. And so like, it's amazing now. There's a massive online community on Twitter, on Instagram, on LinkedIn. There's loads of different groups. Like even the places that I volunteer with now didn't exist 6 years ago. So I definitely recommend people go and find local communities, because it makes a big difference. So
awesome. Yeah, confidence is the key, right?
Hard to come by, but once you got it, hold on to it.
Yeah, definitely. That helps a lot. So now I want to move on and talk about these tech fairs that you get. Yeah, tech fairs that you guys have held in the Microsoft offices. So this has to do with this organization called Digi Girls. Tell us how these tech fairs have impacted all these high school girls.
Yeah, so DigiGirls is an outreach program that Microsoft runs, and it tends to target people both in high school and sort of really like around 12, 13 years old, because this Microsoft study ended up finding out that as girls get older, of course, their interest in technology careers drops. And so even by the time you get to university, 58% of girls think that programming isn't for them.
Hi there, we hope you're enjoying this episode so far. We just wanted to let you know that we're on social media at WeAreGCM, and don't hesitate to follow us. And if you'd like to support us further, we also have a Patreon page. Type in Global Changemakers and decide which tier is best for you. And now, on with the rest of the episode.
But if you look at the girls who do know a woman working in a STEM field, they're nearly 20% more likely to start feeling empowered by these STEM activities and start interest in actually pursuing it as a career. And so this is why Microsoft starts running these DigiGirls events, is to try to give them these role models and really start to dispel kind of the myths that surround technology still. So for me, I lead the creation of the London Tech Fairs for the Microsoft DigiGirls Days. So we've had over 150 girls get hands-on with technologies that are developed by the Microsoft engineering teams that are in London. And we also introduce them to the kind of different roles that are in tech and the different kind of people that we have working in those places. So in ours, like the girls used Paint 3D to bring their imaginations to life through 3D creation and augmented reality. They got to explore mixed reality through HoloLens demos, which is something that very few people in the world have even gotten to play with. And they also got to see sort of like predictive text and how accessible, like how that can be used to make accessible technologies through the SwiftKey keyboard. And so we were really like emphasizing showing that technology is not just about programming, but also includes a bunch of varied disciplines that can start to appeal to these girls' interests. And so the impact has been really amazing. It's so nice to be able to speak to them and their teachers and hear about the kinds of things that they're taking away from this. So the feedback that we've gotten is that the schools rated our tech fair as like the most valuable aspect of the day, and that a lot of the girls would say that they were now going to start taking STEM GCSEs and A-levels, which is the UK kind of exams that they take to get into university. And even just speaking to them and showing these girls that like, okay, these are the kinds of offices that we work in. Look how many different women are in the office. Look how young the office is. Look how like varied the products that you could be working on and the challenges that you could be dealing with are. Look how creative you can be, and just showing those things and kind of, again, like I said, like dispelling these myths about what technology is really like has been super valuable, because I don't think a lot of these girls grow up with a very good idea of what tech is like, and I don't think
definitely
are in touch with how much it's changed recently.
Yeah. And it's really important, as you say, like when girls start developing this interest in school, it's really important that they boost like this interest, right? So that they don't doubt about it later. So I find it really like it's very, very well approached, I would say, a very well approached program. All right. So now let's ask a question about like more about a life question, more general question. So, you know, we as millennials in our 20s, we tend to have a lot of interests, right? And many times we don't know, we kind of like fail in managing efficiently our time. So, I mean, but it's all about progress. It's all about, you know, never giving up and learning more about yourself as you go on. So what would be an advice you can give to our audience regarding balancing your time efficiently? Because I imagine that you have a lot of another interests besides, you know, your advocacy and maybe besides your exercise and all of that. Maybe you sometimes find it difficult to manage your time well.
I was going to say, yeah, absolutely. I think this is something that pretty much everybody I know struggles with. And especially when you're a really ambitious person and have a lot of other things going on, it's really hard to balance. So it's been something that I've been working through myself. But I think the best thing you can try to do is to really understand where your priorities are at the time. It's like, is it your career? Is it your side hustles? Is it your advocacy work? Regardless of what it is, it's important to understand like how you rank them, because that's something that you can then kind of refer back to when these decisions come up about, do I do this thing or do I do that thing? Because sometimes you just cannot do it all. And so for me, I've especially been realizing like, if you really want to excel in your career, especially in the early stages and move up quickly, really the biggest thing is that you have to get good at your job. It sounds really simple, but that's kind of the thing that you're being evaluated on during these like really early stages of your career. And because of this, you may end up spending more time upskilling. So it's super common, especially that I've seen at Microsoft in my first full couple years as like a full-time employee, is that people starting on like first starting out will take on way too much work when they don't have a good grasp about their actual work commitments, and they'll end up either not doing their best work or dropping out, and that's just not really what you want to be doing.
Yeah.
And so when you're choosing where to be spending your time on these additional projects or advocacy, I think the most important thing to do is really look at where you can have the most impact and kind of where it's best aligned with these key priorities. And if career is something that is your key priority, it's like a great thing you do is see where it intersects with your career. Like I said before, is a lot of the activities I'm involved with are Microsoft based, which is great because I can dedicate a portion of my work time to it, and then also develop kind of these sort of like interrelated skills, typically like business or soft skills that are great for my career at the same time. So it's a bit of a difficult one. It's a bit of a practice and a bit of a process.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it does seem like most people just have to learn how to say no a lot more because there's so many opportunities. You just can't give.
Yeah, a lot of opportunities out there, right? Yeah, and you mentioned a word that's really important, knowing your priorities. And I think that it has a lot to do with confidence and, you know, knowing yourself. And I really like to mention these words again because I'm like a person that's really passionate about personal development. So it's like I really love like bringing them again into the conversation because I feel like they are really, really important. It is really easy to lose like the priorities when you don't have things very clear, right?
No, absolutely. And I think it ends up, without having your priorities, you'll end up working along a tangent and doing lots. Maybe for other people, and that isn't actually aligned with your goals. And so you only have so much time. So make sure that your time is being used in the most possible.
Yeah. Just make the most out of your time. Now, let's go to the last question of this interview. This interview has been really cool. I mean, now in this second season, we're trying to make interviews shorter, but you know, it's still, we can get a lot of value out of them. And yeah, I can see it from this interview because we have talked about a lot of very cool things. So now as a last question, well, this is not like a question, but I just want to mention that back into introduction, I mentioned the recognitions you've been awarded with, such as the Code First Girls Want to Watch and the Tech Women 100. Tell us more about awards and what organization gives them.
Yeah, so I think this is a really great thing to touch on, as awards, in kind of my opinion, are less about the accolade and a bit more about the future opportunities that come with winning awards. They're also super helpful for building new connections, relationships with these like-minded people in the industry. So again, that are really helpful for these kind of future collaborations and pursuit of these like shared impact that we're all looking for. So a lot of the awards that I've seen in London are typically run by social enterprises and sometimes corporations that are really looking to amplify the visibility and celebrate the achievements of what is usually like minorities and entrepreneurs across different industries. So these awards are usually looking for your impact in the workplace and in industry, your leadership, and really depending on the award, your contributions to helping others. So for women, as an example, which is where a lot of my work is involved, we'll take like one of the main groups in the UK is We Are the City. So they do awards for women across a dozen or so industries and also do the Tech Women 100 awards. And another one is Code First Girls, which is a social enterprise that provides free programming courses for female and non-binary students that are across the UK. And they also collaborate with companies to help their students get jobs after, which is really, really great. And they are, of course, are the ones that run the Ones to Watch awards. And so these ones are a bit more focused for people who are maybe a bit more or closer to being in industry, except for there are still loads of awards that are available for students
So
as
you're
well.
waiting to win. Oh, for students, you say?
Yeah,
And the
there's
graduate students, or you can be a graduate student to get an
I've
award?
seen certainly lots for undergraduate students, and I think usually it tends to be just you have to be a student for
Okay, cool.
awards. So there's certainly ones out there which are really good, because as soon as you start getting a couple years out of university like me, and you start realizing all the awards you could have been applying for, you're going to want.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But I would say, in terms of if you actually want to win these awards, the best thing that you can kind of do for yourself and your career and for others is to just get involved. I would join organizations that are kind of in pursuit of change, volunteer time, say yes to opportunities that are in the workplace. And to be honest, most importantly, just apply. I speak to so many people who kind of just don't really seem to get how awesome they are, and aren't brave enough to put themselves forward. It's like the worst case is they're going to just say no, and you try again.
That happens a lot.
When you have more experience, and your luck is like, chances are even better. So when you do apply, just make your application as clear, concise, help the judges get to the impact that they're looking for as quickly as possible. So pretty much just get involved, be brave, and pitch yourself well. That's how you will win.
Know how to sell yourself is really important in every aspect of life, I would say. Yeah, definitely. Awesome phrase to finish your answer. All right, Holly, thank you so much for this amazing interview. We hope to have a lot of listeners giving us feedback about this really cool interview, and hope that you can also share it with your media and all of that. So thank you. It was a pleasure to have you in this podcast.
Thank you very much.
All right. Hey, thank you so much for listening to this episode. Remember that you can help us have a greater impact by sharing this and encouraging everybody on your social media to take a listen. If you want to reach out, remember that the contact of the co-host is down below in the show notes, or feel free to do it on social media at WeAreGCM. We'll be very happy to talk to you and answer any of your questions. Also, remember to follow us and to subscribe to this podcast. See you in the next episode. Take care.